everybody. Welcome back to the Dimes and Buckets podcast. I'm Tim. Joining me is Rach. Let's get into it.
It's at the Jenkins for the championship.
A couple versions of the intro there. Awesome. I love it. Perfect. Well, Rach, All-Star Weekend is behind us. We're back to a full slate of NBA games. It's been a long week, I think, for you and I, because obviously as Raptors fans, it's been a long week with no Raptors and having games kick off, but having to wait till tonight against Charlotte to see our boys back in action.
Yeah.
How are you doing, first of all? How have things been? I mean, it's been a long week in no hoops, but how have things been otherwise?
Yeah, well, this week has dragged so much because there's been no basketball. Like, I feel like, because usually, like I touched on before, I wake up in the morning and watch the Raptors before I start work. So usually I get up a lot earlier, usually start my day quite early, But this week I've kind of been, sleeping in, being a bit lazy. So from a scheduling point of view, I'm really happy the Raptors are back because obviously I get to watch them again, and also I get to keep my my schedule intact, getting up early, seeing the sun before it rises.
Yeah, of course, the time difference. So I know that you tend to watch some of the games the next day. So
scores on Twitter, it's very hard just to hide scores on the app and just not at all, and then just do my ranting or praising after
the fact. I know I always look forward to your tweets the next day after you see it to get your take, and I'm just like, yeah, when we're just gonna what our thoughts are gonna be on this. But
we should do a watch along one day at the weekend or something.
I'm down. Yeah, I'm down for sure. Maybe the next time the Raps play the Clips, if we get a weekend
that would be really good, yeah.
And get our resident Clippers fan, Greg, who's unfortunately couldn't join us today, but to get him in. He's happy because in our group chat, we have a group chat obviously for the pod, and he's happy that reports have surfaced or footages or pictures have surfaced of Kawhi Leonard taking jumpers without a knee brace. So that's a good first step if you're a Clippers fan, and if you're a Kawhi Leonard fan for sure.
Definitely. Great to see players come back after after bad injuries. I mean, Kawhi is loved by us. I don't know about you, but I absolutely adore him. And I wish him nothing but the best. And I can't wait to see him back on the court again because he is a baller, absolute hooper.
Yeah, I mean the man brought us a chip, so how can you not? But yeah, so a bit of a condensed version tonight. We'll probably be with you for about 40 minutes, but a couple talking points that have surfaced during the week, Rach, and like we talked about, we'll get into the All-Star Weekend and such in just a few minutes, but something that sort of again made the rounds in our group chat, made the rounds on social media this week was LeBron James in the context of talking about his son and talking about Bronny and Bronny still being a couple years away from being draft eligible. But basically what LeBron said was that whoever drafts Bronny, he wants to play a year with his son, and whoever gets Bronny whoever drafts Bronny is gonna get LeBron. So essentially, it's kind of like what you're saying is if you draft my son, then you're getting me in the draft as well. Now, it'd be interesting to people get in the comments. Let us know what your thoughts on this are. But I'll come to you in a second, Rach. But my thought on this when I heard it at first was just, I think every parent, their dream, of course, would be to play with their child. There's been a couple of instances in other sports where it's happened, and I'm sure that's every parent's dream. But it just struck me two things. First of all, it's a lot of pressure it puts pressure on Bronny a bit, I think, for him to, because right now he's sort of projected as a late first round pick. So it puts a lot of pressure on him to sort of not only get drafted, but to even potentially guarantee money to get into the lottery, to guarantee that he's going to get a contract after all this. But it just seems like it just sort of, I don't know. It just reeked of, why would you say that and like put all that pressure on your son, put all that pressure on the sort of, taint the draft, if you will. That if you draft my son, you're going to draft me also.
Mhm.
And pressure in the sense of his son to get drafted, but also pressure in the sense that, like, is his son even really good enough then? If his son gets up into the lottery, like if some teams like, you know what, he'd probably be just outside of the lottery or probably fall deeper in the draft. But if we have a
Mhm.
chance to get LeBron, then really it's worth taking the 3 year guaranteed money on a rookie if we're going to get LeBron for a season or two. Like, what were your thoughts on this?
Um, I didn't like it too much because, like you said, it does put an immense amount of pressure on the kid. And I mean, he's still only young. Like,
Yeah.
he's never going to be able to. This is no disrespect to the kid or anything. He could be, he could grow up, really, really, find his feet in the NBA and be an absolute star. But when your dad is LeBron James, I mean, that's LeBron that you're talking about. Like,
Mhm.
he's never going to be able to match up to the greatness of his dad, and he's always going to be in that shadow. Um, the fact that he wants to play with him, I think, is a very nice gesture. Obviously, like, who wouldn't? If I had a child, I'd want to play with them
Yeah.
in, a professional sport if I was that way inclined. But I don't think it's very fair because you're basically saying that, oh, if you draft my kid, you'll get me as well.
Yeah.
So the kid's gonna feel, if that was me and my mum was, a superstar tennis player or something,
Yeah. Yeah.
and they said, well, if you sign her, then you'll get her as a package deal.
Yeah.
I kind of feel like they're only signing me because of my mum or
Yeah.
because of my dad, and that's
Yeah.
exactly how Brian's gonna feel. He's gonna feel like they don't really want me; they want my dad, and
Yeah.
who wouldn't? I mean, the man's 38 years old.
Yeah.
Sorry, 37, and he's still, you know, putting up
Dominant. Yeah.
numbers every single week in, week out. I mean, the man is a beast. Like, he's an absolute beast. And who wouldn't want him? Like, say if you were going to take a first round pick on Bronny, who might not turn out to be the best, pick you've ever had, but at least you've got an all-star out of it, like a guaranteed all-star
Hmm.
out of it. So I don't think it's fair on him. I don't think it's fair that Bron has put that on him either, because now that's out there, that can't be taken back in. Do
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like, he's
Yeah.
never going to be able to take
Yep.
that back. So, it is what it is. It's a nice gesture, but I think it could have been left unsaid and then
Mhm.
let the kid be drafted to, say, if he gets drafted to, I don't know, the Rockets or like
Yeah.
Charlotte or whoever drafted him, but based on his talent alone, then
Yep.
that's absolutely fine. And then come out after and say, you know what, I'm going over there because I want to play with my son. Don't come out 2 years before
Before.
he's getting drafted to put that seed in franchises' minds and then,
Mhm.
have that be the underlying factor that Bronny gets drafted, like, early or wherever he gets drafted.
Mhm.
So I just think it's a bit unfair, but you know,
And then it just makes you wonder, like, does it stop at just the draft? Because all of a sudden, if Bronny gets drafted and then LeBron goes to whatever team drafts him, is there going to be an expectation that he plays too, that he's getting regular minutes with his dad and playing with his dad, when maybe there's other players on the roster that are
they're more deserving.
deserving. So it is. I think you're right. I think it just creates an awkward situation all around for everybody. Um, you have to wonder if maybe maybe he wishes he could take it back, and maybe regrets it and maybe, like, I'm sure his son didn't know he was going to say that. So it'd be interesting to see what the sort of internal family discussion is, around it after the
Could
fact.
be a fly on the wall.
But yeah, exactly.
Mm.
But right, yeah, it was a talking point, and it was making the rounds on Twitter. So it'd be interesting to see how things pan out. We're still 2 years away, as we said, from Bronny being able to be drafted.
Unless
So
they change the rules, because it wasn't there
yeah,
talk of the rules being changed, because he's graduating high school this year, Oh, no, sorry, 2023. So
Yeah.
unless the rules change, he's not eligible to be drafted until 2024. But
Yeah.
if they do change the rules, which, for Bron, sometimes they do,
Yeah.
it's
The
not
LeBron
gone
rule.
unknown that sometimes
Yeah.
rules don't apply to LeBron James when he's involved. But that's a story for another day. But unless the rules do change, then he won't be drafted until 2024.
Yeah.
Bron, I believe, is a free agent next year in 2023.
Yeah.
So he could maybe sign a 1-year extension with the Lakers, or he could, sign a 1 year with Cleveland, and then kind of make the decision on where he goes after that based on where Bronny goes.
It'll be interesting to see the fallout from this and what teams try to move up in the draft just to get a chance at Bronny and LeBron as well. So definitely, double trouble. Definitely something to keep an eye on.
Would you take him at the Raptors?
LeBron? Or Bronny?
Well, it seems that you get.
I mean, you're getting a package, so I guess I think it would just depend on where our roster is at that time. If you're looking like if LeBron's still putting up the numbers and you can add him and he's like the last piece because he's still playing heavy minutes too. Like it's not like he seems like he's not even slowing down. So if he's playing heavy minutes and putting big numbers, then absolutely I would take him. I mean, it's LeBron James. And then if you're getting a player in Bronny that's potentially, how's it going, Andrew? If you're getting a player in Bronny, we all know how good the Raptors are at developing players. So, if you're getting a player that you can potentially develop that you would have possibly drafted anyway, then why not? But we know that Masai and Bobby are very calculated in how they like to do things. So I'm sure there will be a lot of factors involved in that, including what kind of money LeBron is looking for. Right. What's that? He's not cheap. No, he's not cheap. Maybe you can get the Bronny discount though.
Maybe.
Right. So as we touched on off the start, All-Star Weekend's over, and we kind of touched on it in the last episode. Went through our selections, sort of who we thought would win various competitions. I don't think any one of us got any of the our choices right, which is generally how it goes. When you're talking about All-Star Weekend, you never know. I don't know. I got to be honest about the whole All-Star Weekend. I thought the skills competition on the rookie, the sort of team challenge on Friday night. I thought that was a pretty good concept in terms of the games to 50, the various teams. I thought that was probably my favorite event for the whole weekend. I enjoyed that bit of it. The Saturday to me wasn't good. I didn't think the skills competition, the format of that was good. The 3-point competition, I don't know. I'm happy for Kat, showing that a big man can step out and shoot. Great for him. But I just felt between that and the All-Star or the slam dunk competition that
it was awful.
It was really just the Saturday, the whole All-Star weekend for me really underwhelmed. And like I told you guys in the previous show, I mean, I'm not a huge fan of the All-Star game in itself. Like I don't sit down and watch it like I would sit down and watch a regular game. Steph Curry, obviously we have it there in the title, was an absolute animal. The guy was just hitting shots from everywhere, albeit obviously without defenders in his face. And, those are basic for a guy like Steph. Those are pretty much layups, but the logo threes and everything were fantastic. But I don't know. What were your thoughts on it? I just thought the whole thing, to be honest, there was a lot of talk and chatter on social media after the fact that it was like the worst slam dunk competition of all time and worst All-Star weekend of all time. Like, what were your thoughts on it, Rach?
I mean, it just felt like the game in general, the game as a whole on the Sunday felt just like a showboat experience. Like just to see all of all the best players just doing what they do best, completely uncontested though. Like, I'll never forget Kyle Lowry taking charges in an All-Star game. Like just putting his body on the line. He doesn't care, like whether it's a glorified friendly or not. But there was next to no fouls. Like it was just boring. Like, I know, I understand that they don't want to hurt each other and blah, 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 but that's not entertainment. Like, it was just basically dunk after layup, after mid-range jumper, after free throw, after three. And it was just a bit boring. It just felt like a stage for the best players to showcase what they can do. And I mean, we know what they can do. We see it day in, day out. We know Steph Curry can shoot a three.
Yeah.
What's new? Like, breaking news, Steph makes a three, and it's like, wow. But no, some of the threes,
and like you said, like,
go on.
Yeah. No, I was just gonna say, like you said, we know he can hit a three, and like it was impressive what he was doing, but at the same time, like, I mean, you know, the he's hitting wide open looks. Like, you know, it's not
exactly.
You expect a professional basketball player to be able to make an open three, right?
Yeah.
So,
exactly. I mean, some of the threes that he was making were great, and I really enjoyed when he made that three from the logo and just started walking back as if he knew it was going in. So I was like, that's cold. That's cold. But he is a beast. He put up 50 points, you know. He's a beast. What can you say? He's a 3-point machine. Do you think? I know there's been a lot of talk on social media about him being the best 3-point shooter ever. Do you agree?
100%.
Yeah.
100% all time. And I've seen, like, I mean, I remember I grew up watching basketball in the late 80s and 90s, so I can remember like Reggie Miller, you know, John Paxson, Steve Kerr, you know, some of these guys that shot extremely efficient from, you know, there's tons more that I'm missing, but guys that shot extremely proficient from 3-point land. But it's just, the thing with him is it's just the ease with which he gets his shots up. He's got such a quick release. He doesn't need a lot of time. He shoots well. Like, his footwork's good. Like, when he's coming off a screen, he gets his feet and his shoulder square, really, really good square to the basket, quickly. Which obviously, as a jump shooter, is key. I mean, if your feet and your shoulders aren't square, then, you know, there's a good chance you're not going to make a shot. So he's just in the movement to get open, to get those shots. Like, it's just ridiculous. And then his range, like, I mean, you got to pick him up as soon as he comes over half. And that just stretches the defense out ridiculously. Andrew is right. He is, for me, the greatest, I'd say greatest 3-point shooter for sure. I mean, there's probably better mid-range shooters, but greatest 3-point shooter by far. Oh, DeMar. Yeah. DeMar easily. Yeah, just mid-range guys shooting 50% from the mid-range. It's just ridiculous.
I really enjoyed at the All-Star weekend when Luca was having that conversation with DeMar. He was saying, "Do you ever miss a mid-range?" And he was just like, "Well, sometimes, but not often." And that's what you want. Like, I agree with you. I think Steph is one of the greatest of all time. Obviously, I didn't have the privilege of growing up watching all them great players, but obviously you know about them. But I would agree that I think Steph is more, you know, technically enabled, and he's just got the gift of the three. It just whenever he releases it, you just think, oh, it's going to go in. Like, there's nothing you can do. You can't even try and contest him because he makes those contested threes all the time, and you wonder how, like, it's like a magnet.
Like I said, I think the impressive thing with Curry, and it's similar to Reggie Miller, is Reggie Miller would come off those screens, and, you know, not to get too technical here, but when you're coming off that screen as a shooter, to get that lead foot turned to the basket and get your trailing foot square as well, and then get your shoulder square and be able to catch with a contest. Like, a lot of times, like, you know, you've got the NBA is just full of good athletes, so they close out really, really quickly. So to be able to get yourself square, catch and release with limited time, with a full shot contest, and still make a shot, like, compared to a guy like, say, a Steve Kerr, or some other really good set shooters that are good catch and release shooters, like, you know, driving kick, and they're able to set themselves and get set. Steph just is constantly moving. So to do that and get yourself in positions where you've got limited time to catch and release and shoot and make over 3,000 threes, I think he's at like 3,100 threes or something now, or 3,158 or whatever he's at. It's just absolutely ridiculous. So, yeah,
And he's
for
not
sure.
done. He is by no stretch of the
Oh,
imagination.
no.
He has still got years left in him.
Yeah.
So yeah, he's for me, I agree. He is the greatest of all time and
Yeah.
an absolute beast. It wasn't a great weekend for our boys. We didn't have the best time. Scotty kind of, they saw the funny side of it, him and Tyrese Maxey.
Yeah.
It was just bad. As a Raptors fan watching it, I was just like, oh no. He's completely choked, completely. And obviously Fred only made was it 16? Yeah, 16 threes in the I just think, chalk it up to a loss. We didn't have the best. He got some good minutes in the All-Star game and he made, a couple of good shots, a three.
Yeah.
But it wasn't the best weekend for our boys. It just kind of fell, didn't it?
Yeah. Yeah. The jump hook, the sort of the thing where they had to make the shots on the Friday night, like the NBA
The clutch
legend.
challenge, yeah.
The clutch challenge, and watching Scotty just miss those, like missing like 4 foot, 3 foot jump hook after jump hook after jump hook.
It was like watching someone who had never played basketball before.
Yeah.
Try and get a layup, and I was just like,
oh, Scotty.
Like, come on, even I could do better. But he makes them when it counts, and that's all I kept saying on Twitter. As soon as people come for me like, "Oh, Scotty Barnes was rubbish," or "He's rubbish," I'm like, he makes them when it counts. So,
I mean, first of all, it's All-Star weekend, so like you can't put much stock into it. Second of all, he had a good time. Like him and Tyrese Maxey were laughing about it after. Even Scotty leaned over to Tyrese Maxey and was like, "At least we made people laugh." Like if you can't laugh at yourself, but it just like he came out, he did that little wave on the Friday night when they introduced him. Like he could, it was just like this guy's energy is just incredible. And I don't know if the news traveled over there, but like the guy, he just announced actually in Toronto that he's funding 4 scholarships.
Yes, I saw that.
For people, I think it's for post-secondary education.
Mm-hmm.
Like the guy is he's just got a great head on his shoulders, and he strikes me as the kind of guy that is as bad as it was, that he would just like laugh it off. And his teammates are probably like giving it to him too when he gets back to Toronto. Like, "Hey, Rook, nice showing at the All-Star game," right? Like, he's probably getting it, and he's probably just going to take it in stride. So
he takes everything in stride, though. Even you see it in games. If you actually watch the Raptors, you can see it in games. He doesn't let his head drop at all. Like if he misses a few consecutive shots or he doesn't make the easy buckets or easy layups, he doesn't let it get him down. Like he's that fun-loving guy that is just loving what he does. And if you love what you do, you're going to excel at it, in my opinion. So
100%. Yeah, his energy is terrific.
Absolutely.
Right. Well, that kind of wraps up the All-Star weekend. And our last topic today, we're back at it. Raptors are back in action tonight, which we will get to in just a second. On the sked last night, full slate of games. Boston beating the Nets. Still no Ben Simmons. Goran Dragic obviously is signed with the Nets, former Raptor. It was quite interesting in his press conference when they asked him what happened in Toronto, and basically said, I wasn't in their plans. That Masai and Bobby had sat him down and told him that early, and had decided that the best course of action was just for him to go back to Miami and be with his family and await the buyout. So that's what happened. The Bulls beating the Hawks. The Cavs losing again last night to the Pistons, and the Cavs have now, it's a team that the Raptors are chasing, Rach, and as our Raptors, the Warriors, of course, with the 37-point blow to the Blazers as well. But the Cavs one was interesting for me last night because they've started off in they were as high as third in Eastern Conference. They're 3.5 games back now of first. They're only 2 games back. 2 games ahead of the Raptors, who are in 7th, and a game up in Boston. I think if you're Toronto or Boston, and obviously the Toronto in action tonight and can make up more ground on the Cavs, they got to be the team that the Raptors would look to say, if we're going to get into the top 6, because you've got Chicago, Miami, Philly, Milwaukee, Boston's pretty hot, and the Cavs have started 3rd down to 5th now. I think they're the team that the Raps will look at and think, yeah, we can reel them in and make it into the top 6.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you agree with that or not, but
Yeah, I think so. Just looking at the standings, I think they are the team that we could, try and leapfrog. I think Boston are only going to get better. I don't think we're going to be able to catch them. Even though we are only, one behind them, I do think they will just keep on winning. They look like they're in a groove at the minute. They're playing well, playing hard. Yeah, I do think we could maybe take advantage and leapfrog Cleveland. It's the same with the Bucks as well. I don't see the Bucks slipping. I think the Bucks are just going to, keep on winning. It's going to be tough to get that 6th spot. If we can do it, then that'd be great. I'm sticking with my prediction of 7. I think we will get top of the play-in.
Yeah.
I don't think Brooklyn are going to catch us. I mean, are they 2.5 games behind us?
Yeah, they're 2.5 games behind us.
Yeah, so they're 2.5 games behind us. We've got a bit of leeway on Charlotte as well, and there's quite a good cushion between us and then the rest of the play-ins. So I think if we just keep on doing our job, I think we will easily cement that 7th spot. It's just 6 that we could maybe take advantage of other teams, but the Raptors have a 3 back-to-back in a row.
Yeah.
So we play the Nets back-to-back, don't we? We've got a back-to-back, obviously, Friday, Saturday. Then we've got Monday, Tuesday, and I think it's Thursday and Friday. So it's going to be tough. It's going to be really tough. We've got a few hard games in there, and also we've got the Heat as well, with Kyle Lowry coming back.
Yeah.
So it's going to be tough, but we've been through tough games this season. We've beat good teams. We've beat the Bulls. We've beat a lot of good teams this year so far. So I think if we just carry on, keep our head up, keep working hard, I think we can cement that 7th spot and hopefully push for 6th.
For sure. And looking at the other games tonight, really quickly, the Suns take on the Pelicans. Another Sixers take on the Timberwolves. Which again, should be another good game. Miami Heat in action tonight. Of course, out west, the late game, Clippers and the Lakers, Battle of LA. And of course, for us, the game that you and I are going to be watching or looking at is the Raptors Hornets. And we touched on where the Hornets are, just behind the Raptors in the standings, about 4 games behind us. Breaking news for the Raptors, which just came out over here through Raptors Twitter. No OG Anunoby, who's out with a fractured finger. And it looks like some sort of incident that he had with Fred yesterday in practice. And Fred VanVleet also questionable for tonight. So if we're missing OG and we're missing Fred, it just makes it that much tougher. With the back-to-back, it'll be an interesting one to see what the Raps do if Fred is questionable. Do you rest him tonight and look to the game tomorrow against the Hawks? So hopefully, fingers crossed, Fred is good to go. But definitely a good slate of interesting games tonight. How do you think this one shakes down in Charlotte?
It's a tough one because obviously the Hornets are only just behind us. Like I mentioned before, they are just a few games behind us. I think we win. I think we've got enough quality, and we've had a long break now. So Pascal will be fired up. Like even if we don't have Freddie and OG, obviously we don't have OG, but you've got Chris Boucher to come in. We've got a good. Chris Boucher always seems to play better when he starts than when he comes off the bench. So, because obviously bench Boucher is okay, but start Boucher, he always seems to, get in his groove a little bit, which I think is the mentality that he needs to take to the bench sometimes. But that's a conversation for another day. So I think you've got Boucher to come in. You've got Banton. You've got Svi, and obviously I know Svi's going through a lot at the minute. I don't even know if he'll be playing. We do have Thad Young. I don't think he'll start, but he could get a lot of extended minutes. Utah as well. Like it's a chance for the wider squad to really put up some minutes and show why they should be there.
Sure.
Hopefully Freddie will be all right, and it's just OG that we're missing, and we can like sub in Boucher, and he can try and get us through it. But I think we come out of this with the win. I think it'll be a close one, but it's in typical Raptors fashion. We'll probably go up like 25 points, and then they'll bring it back and cut it back to like 5, and then we'll just win, which is just the way that happens with the Raptors. But yeah, I'm saying we get the win.
Right on. And just before we go, I guess we'll touch on it because we'll do it for Greg because his Clippers are in action against the Lakers tonight.
Yes.
What do you think? What do you think happens out west? I mean, that'll be the showpiece game.
Mm-hmm.
That'll be the showpiece game for sure. But what do you think?
I think the Clippers will. I think the Clippers will win it. They seem to be on a good run at the minute. They're kind of picking up a little bit of steam. Lakers, obviously, LeBron has had his All-Star game. He might get a lot of confidence from that, but I will go with Clippers. Not by much though. I'd probably say about 8 to 10 points.
Yeah, I think I'll go with the Clippers in this one too. It's tough for me to pick the Lakers in any game this season, to be honest. But I think I'll go.
You never know what you're getting with the Lakers though this season.
Hit or miss, yeah. Up and down.
Very inconsistent.
Yeah. So a couple interesting games. Be good to watch. Good to see the Raps back in action, but good to see the NBA as a whole back. Really missed it. Mm-hmm. It's been a slow week for sure. Let us know what you guys think. Get into the comments under this video on YouTube. Get at us on Twitter at Dimes and Buckets. No, at Dimes Buckets Pod on Twitter if you want to get a hold of us. Let us know what you think. Let us know what topics you guys want to talk about. We'll dive into just about anything. So if there's anything you want us to talk about and get into, then we'll get into it. But that's a wrap for another episode. We'll be back next Friday. Rach, always good to talk to you. And hopefully the boys come out on top tonight.
Fingers crossed. Yeah, absolutely. Right. See you guys later. Thank you.